This exercise is called a hip capsule stretch. We talk a lot about mobility and flexibility, and actually the two are not exactly the same. When we're discussing flexibility, we're talking about the muscle's ability to stretch. When we talk about mobility, we're talking about the mobility in the joint itself, which is equally as important as the muscles that cross that joint. So this exercise is actually going to address the hip capsule itself. It's not going to feel the same as a regular stretch would. In fact, most of the time when you first start it, it's difficult to feel anything. So I don't want you to give up on it before you do enough repetitions where you actually get in tune with your body and actually feel what's happening. What we're going to do is sit on the floor. I'm going to show you from the side first where I want your hand position, and then when I turn to the front, we'll look at the feet. I want you to get tall in your upper body and bring your hands in close to the back of your body, just to the outside of the hips. All right, be careful not to slump back and let the elbows bend, because we're going to use these hands to push to create the tension in the hip to get it to stretch. I like to do this exercise with my shoes off and my feet flat on the floor, because it's going to be important as we start the motion that your feet don't lift off the floor. And with your sneakers on, sometimes that can cut into the side of your ankle. So we're going to get the feet just outside the hips. You might not be able to bend your knees in as close as mine are, that's fine. Keeping the feet flat on the floor and the nice tall upper body, using your arms up against the back of the body. We're going to go ahead and start with my right side. I'm going to rotate my right hip inward. We're going into internal rotation here. Not letting my foot open up off the floor. I'm going to keep my foot flat on the floor. As I do that, my right butt cheek is coming up off the ground. So I'm going to try to maintain that internal rotation on that right side, and then I'm going to take my left arm, push into the floor, and try to drive my right hip back into the floor. It's not a huge change in my position in my body, but what I'm doing is anchoring this hip back down while this hip is internally rotated. So that joint capsule has to open up. Rotate in, foot stays flat, push that butt cheek back down onto the floor, stay nice and tall on your upper body, and breathe through that. I'm going to go over to the left side, do the same thing. Foot stays flat, knee comes in. This time I'm going to use more my right side to push that left butt cheek back down into the floor while I keep that knee turned in. I feel that deep in the front of my hip, not necessarily in the muscle. Just alternate back and forth what you're going to start to find, and you'll see it here. My hip is slowly opening up, and with each repetition, I'm going to go ahead and be able to get that knee further and further in. So I'm increasing my range of motion just within one set. After you get done, stand up. It's going to feel like you have air inside your joints. You're going to feel a little bit taller when you get done. Do this for 2 or 3 days in a row and really try to focus on the form and technique, and don't worry so much about what you feel.